Solomon is one of the Bible's most celebrated men, the wisest king, temple builder, the name people attach to wisdom itself. And then you read the details and realize something uncomfortable. This wisest man is also described as a man with a private life so extreme. It doesn't read like virtue, it reads like power on autopilot. So today we're not here to preach. We're not here to dunk on scripture. We're doing what we always do. We're looking at the pattern. Because Solomon forces one of the most revealing contradictions in the entire biblical library. A flawed man is elevated as holy, and then his story becomes a tool to police everyone else. Let's start with the moment that made Solomon famous. He asks God for wisdom instead of riches. That becomes the foundation of his reputation. He's portrayed as a judge with insight, a king people travel to hear, a ruler who can solve human problems with clarity. Then he builds the temple, the central symbol of divine presence and religious identity. So the story gives him everything a system needs to crown someone as special. Authority, brilliance, legacy, and a monument. But then the same tradition tells you what comes with that crown. Solomon accumulates wealth, horses, power, and women, and the important part is this. The story doesn't present his marriages as romance. In the ancient world, royal marriages were often politics, treaties, alliances, mergers. A king collecting wives was often a king collecting influence. So when you see Solomon's enormous household, you're not just seeing desire. You're seeing empire, and empire always has a cost, because the wives don't exist in a vacuum. The concubines don't exist in a vacuum. This isn't just a list of relationships, it's a system of possession. A lifestyle built on access, status, and the normalization of excess. And here's the harsh truth the Solomon story reveals. Power rewrites permission. What would be called corruption in a regular man becomes strategy in a king. What would be called lust becomes diplomacy. What would be called excess becomes blessing. And when a system benefits from a leader, it protects the leader's image. Solomon is praised for wisdom and achievements, while the moral cost of his lifestyle gets softened under the word great. Because institutions don't survive by elevating perfect people. They survive by elevating useful people. Now let's say the quiet part out loud. The Bible is not a book of perfect men. It's a library full of human contradictions. That's not shocking. That's real life. What becomes dangerous is when people use these flawed men as moral megaphones. They'll excuse the king, and then demand purity from the crowd. They'll canonize the leader, and then condemn the follower. And this is where Solomon becomes more than a character. He becomes a pattern you can recognize everywhere. A man can be called wise and still be enslaved to appetite. A man can build something sacred and still exploit people privately. A man can lead a nation and still fail the simplest form of leadership, ruling himself. So the real question Solomon forces is not was he important? The real question is, what do we mean by wisdom? Because wisdom is not intelligence. Wisdom is restraint. Wisdom is humility. Wisdom is the ability to hold power without letting power turn you into a hungry machine. And when a system calls a man wisest while his life shows addiction to accumulation, you learn something about the system. It rewards outcomes more than it rewards integrity. It protects the crown more than it protects the vulnerable. So here's the closing thought. If someone uses Solomon to demand perfection from you, remember what the text itself shows. The heroes were human, sometimes brilliant, sometimes broken, sometimes both at once. The problem isn't that the book contains flawed men. The problem is when flawed men become the blueprint for control, while their flaws are treated like exceptions. So the question I'll leave you with is simple. When someone quotes a holy man to control you, are they inviting you toward wisdom? Or are they recruiting you into a double standard that has existed as long as crowns have existed? Leave your thoughts below, not your conclusions, your questions.